So during the last video, I had the actual dust collector installed here, wall mounted, did all of that stuff. So a couple of weeks ago when the ducting came in, I had actually run all of the ducting, so we'll take a look over here, and I had it go in according to the plans that we had done up across the ceiling with all the drops splitting off of there. But the problem I ran into is, number one, I didn't like all the obstruction because 7-inch ducting hanging off the ceiling there, the main line going across to all the equipment, created a lot of obstruction. And if I'm moving around large lumber, tall pieces that I need to flip over, stuff like that, I just didn't want to. Plus it was blocking a lot of the light in this space, so it really dimmed the space, and it just didn't look that aesthetically pleasing to me. So what I actually ended up doing was tearing everything down. I think I got a picture of it here with everything up. Tore everything down and then started from scratch. So I had the plans from Oneida for how it was going to be run, but what I decided is, you can see over here from the main unit over here, is now all the ducting runs up to the attic above the shop here, well, the garage, and then runs across, and now I have drops going to all the individual pieces of equipment. So there's the, I think it's a 5-inch coming down for the table saw connection right down here. And then back there you see there's a 6-inch line that runs there that goes to a 5 to the planer. And then over here we have all of the, I still haven't really figured out this gimbal yet as far as the controls. Everything's backwards. We actually have the lines coming down for the edge sander, which has a fitting on there, so I can just swap it over to the drum sander over here when I need to use that. And then the actual connection for the bandsaw over here, which splits because it has 2 ports on there. So, but as you can see, everything's coming down through the ceiling right there. And the same will happen on the other wall over there for where the miter saw station is going to be. We're going to run up to the attic here in a moment, so you can see how I actually ran the ducting up there and brought it down. But one of the things, since I wanted to make sure, is since there's pretty long drops from the ceiling here, is that everything was nice and rigid coming down here, so there's not much flex, because these ducts are out probably 6 to 8 inches away from the wall. So I didn't want there to be much wiggle on these right here. As you can see right here, there's not a lot of wiggle. They're pretty rigid. And I did the same thing. So I still have to, as far as the planer connection goes, I still have to kind of come up with a bracket there on the ceiling where it drops through, make it a little more rigid because there is some wiggle in it. But for the time being, it'll be fine. So far, I love how much suction I get now that everything's sealed up, all the joints and everything, even all the way on the end of the run right there to the sanders and the bandsaw. Way more suction than I had with my old, what is it? Where is it? It's over here, down here somewhere. The Harbor Freight, I think it's about a 1.5 horsepower dust collector, so that thing's going bye-bye. Noise isn't too bad, but it's a lot bigger system, so it's gonna create a bit of noise, but with hearing protection, when using a table saw and some of the equipment anyways, it's a non-issue. Now, one of the things I did do with the drop for the planer, it's out probably 4 to 5 feet away from the wall, and you can see it's kind of hanging over the planer right there. The planer is up against the back wall, so when it's not in use, it's rolled against the back wall. So it does have wheels on it, but they only roll forward and backwards. So what I did with the hose was, let me set this out here, is so I made sure to have an elbow on the back of it with enough hose so I can actually roll this out to be able to plane down boards even as long as maybe 14, 16 feet, and then push it back out of the way when it's not in use. What I might do is, on that connection right there, is add another elbow with it facing out this way so the hose isn't hanging when it's rolled all the way back, hanging out over the outfeed table. So So let's run up to the attic real quick and we'll take a look at what I did up there and what still needs to be done. All right, so coming out from the house in the second floor out into the attic space above the garage right here. So in the background here, you can kind of see the main line from the dust collector comes up over there, comes up over and splits. Eventually there's going to be another split right there that's going to come over across this this main beam right here, just on the other side of it to where the drop's going to be for the miter saw station. As it comes across the floor here, this is 7-inch ducting right here that I need to kind of do some strapping on there to make sure it's secure on there. It's pretty rigid right now, but eventually that's all going to get insulated, blown in insulation, all that stuff, and the ducting insulated as well. So the big split right here is, what I had to do is the split right here for where the actual planer is. The planer is coming all the way back here near the entrance, is right below my feet right here. So right where I'm standing is below where the planer is. So I had to pull up all this chipboard here, I forget what it's called, and then run the ducting there with a elbow to drop it down there. So after everything was set and done, run, I replaced all the flooring here, made sure it was insulated under here, and then that's where that 6-inch connection comes up to join the main line right in there. And then of course over here is where the bandsaw and sander connections go down right there. So one of the things I did do is where they actually drop down through the drywall, the ceiling right there, I made kind of brackets, if you will, almost half circle brackets for the pipe to sit against the rafter was right there, and then strap those to those. So that's how they're able to be so rigid going through the drywall right there. I'll try to get a close up of those real quick. So as you can tell, I still have quite a bit of work to do as far as insulating, tidying stuff up, securing everything up here. But I'm looking forward to getting back to work, actually making other projects down in the shop. And hopefully within the next couple weeks, that'll happen. Have a good one.